Liz Truss has urged a trade deal between the United States and the United Kingdom after it emerged negotiations are unlikely to restart until 2025. Ms. Truss insisted the government must make more of its Brexit freedoms after the Telegraph revealed talks would only resume at least 9 years after the vote to leave the EU. We need to reduce the size of our economies and make them match-fit, the former Prime Minister said. We need a US-UK trade deal, not a US-UK tax deal. And we need a race to the top. We should be putting regulations on each other. Delivering the annual Margaret Thatcher Freedom Lecture at the Heritage Foundation in Washington, D. C. Ms. Truss added, "We're in a situation where people in our societies appear to be questioning the very value of what we are while others are desperate to get in the country, and it's an extraordinary contradiction." We need to get real about the threat from authoritarian regimes and their unwitting allies in the anti-growth movement in the West. It came as Rishi Sunak held bilateral talks with Joe Biden in Northern Ireland to mark the 25th anniversary of the Belfast Good Friday Agreement. Across the Atlantic, meanwhile, Mr. Sunak's predecessor Liz Truss repeated her criticisms of the corporatist establishment as she urged lower taxes, a tougher stance on China and a trade deal between the UK and the US. My colleague Jack Maidment will be back early tomorrow bringing you all the latest. We can't treat China like other trade partners, says Truss. Asked about Emmanuel Macron's visit to China, Liz Truss replied, "China is a totalitarian regime run by someone whose way of thinking is to impose their ideology on the world." The idea that we can treat China as just another global trade partner is wrong. I don't agree at all with the visit by Ursula von der Leyen and Macron. I think it showed a divide in the West that doesn't exist. And I believe we should be much, much tougher in supporting Taiwan at this juncture. Liz Truss urges a US-UK trade deal. Liz Truss told the Heritage Foundation, "Maybe we should start talking about tax poverty, or a tax emergency." Maybe rather than a cost of living crisis, what we've actually got is a cost of government surplus. We need to reduce the size of our economies and make them match-fit. We need a US-UK trade deal, not a US-UK tax deal. And we need a race to the top. We should be putting regulations on each other. I want the UK to adopt the technology restrictions on China the US and the Netherlands have as a starting point. However, Ms. Truss insisted hope is not lost and hails the example of Margaret Thatcher as part of an intellectual revival in the 1980s. I care too much to give up on this agenda. I think it's too important. And I know there are others who care too. I know there are people who care in the UK. I know there are people who care in the US and beyond. And over the coming months, I'll be setting out ideas about how we together can take this battle forward. We need to get real about the threat from authoritarian regimes and their unwitting allies in the anti-growth movement in the West. Truss hits out at identity politics. Liz Truss attacked identity politics. Critical race theory, which says it's more important how you appear on the surface than what your talent and attributes are. Or the whole debate about what is a woman, that completely subverts basic principles of science and biology. These are all core beliefs that we have seen being undermined, and I am afraid there hasn't been a sufficient fightback. What we don't see is we don't see enough people prepared to take the orthodoxy on. We're in a situation where people in our societies appear to be questioning the very value of what we are while others are desperate to get in the country, and it's an extraordinary contradiction. So what can we do about all this? Because this isn't just a problem about our own society or our own countries. This is a problem for the future of the world that we need to deal with. We need to be as organized and we need to be as fearless as our opponents. And first of all, we need to be proud of our core values and we need to tell the story of freedom again. We need to challenge those who seek to cancel people, and we need to challenge those who subvert the law of biology, and there's only one thing we can do, which is speak out every time this happens. We need to be intolerant of intolerance.